Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. We all know what expected him there. He was about to be crucified. They arrested and killed him. And eventually there was hope around this person that there might be something special about him. That this final journey of his may not actually be his final journey, but there is resurrection to come. Not only for him, but for all of us. A special person was on his way to a special place. Everybody knew that. People were aware of that new prophet in town. And on his tour through Galilee into the south toward Jerusalem, he stopped in that tiny village of Bethany right before entering Jerusalem. So that guy that everybody's putting their big hopes on stops in your town. And eventually he ends up spending the night at that woman's house with her little sister. What are you supposed to do with that when the biggest rock star of your time comes to your home? The answer is always the same: hospitality. In the ancient Middle East, that's kind of a cultural rule. When someone stops by your house, you got to be hospitable. You got to give them food, you got to give them drink, you got to allow them to rest. Because after all, we're talking ancient Middle East. So for the most part, people are on their feet, walking through the desert. Stopping at your house is their only chance to recharge anything they got. Their swollen, bleedy feet, their starving stomachs, their dehydrated water supplies. In the desert, you need hospitality in order to survive. That's not cultural nice, that's survival necessary. And hospitality is not about being nice. Hospitality is about saving lives. It's not about having fun with your friends and a nice party. It's about feeding the stranger so they don't die. And that is every stranger. Whoever knocks on your door, you have to feed him. You have to give him something to drink, and you have to let him rest a little. So much so that even has a spiritual value to it. The letter to the Hebrews says, "Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing that." That person that you welcome into your home might be an angel, and you don't even recognize that. Be hospitable to everyone. That's the custom. Mary and Martha followed it. They did well. They got busy, probably days ahead of time. Jesus was about to come. I mean, what would you do if Jesus were to show up and you know he's coming Wednesday night? You would get busy cleaning house, I guess. So did they. They were busy around the house. They've been cleaning, and they've been getting ready. Cooking and baking and whatnot. They decorated everything, took a bath, got dressed. It was a special day because a special person came to town. So those two sisters that lived together, they were both working very hard to get ready for this most important meal that they're ever going to host. The biggest rock star of your time comes to your house, and you two sisters got to be prepared for that. Don't you think one of them was lazy and one was working hard? They were both working very hard. Because they had in mind, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it. They knew the customs, they knew what they were supposed to do, and they did it to their best. And then in the middle of all this, the expectation and the preparation, occurs our little scene that we heard from the Gospel of Luke. Mary sat at the Lord's feet and listened to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks. So she came to him and asked, "Lord, Do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you're worried and distracted by many things. There's need for only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. Way too often you've heard that story being brushed against Martha, as if Mary did something better. Like discipleship would be better than service. Like a contemplative life would be better than an active life. Like word would be better than work. That's not the point. Martha is distracted. That's what we learn, and she's worried. Jesus doesn't say, you work too much, cut yourself some slack. He doesn't say that. But he says, don't worry all that much. Don't be all that distracted. Because the Gospel of Luke is full of situations where Jesus is a big fan of great and well done hospitality. But Jesus says, your anxiety doesn't make sense. Because she turns around and looks at herself and all the stuff she didn't get done before he came. She was focusing on all her worries as opposed to the party at hand. And you know how it is. In the middle of cleaning house, that's when it looks worst. And she didn't feel ready to receive him yet. Maybe he was early, we don't know. But she wasn't ready yet. Mary dropped everything that was still on her to-do list and sat down with him. Because after all, they were getting ready for his arrival. They prepared for the meal with him. Martha didn't get her stuff done on time. Maybe Mary did. Hospitality needs to be focused on the guest, not on yourself. And yes, sometimes it's more important to not finish that final serving of dessert that you wanted to make, but actually just sit down and have a good conversation with your guest. A word can be more important than the work that you wanted to do. We also heard an older story of hospitality when Abraham gets visited by the three men. He gets busy putting that meal together. He didn't have any notice like Mary and Martha did. So he sends out one slave over there, his wife over there, and they're all doing things, baking, cooking, slaughtering, frying. In all that busyness, the three men stop him and say, where's Sarah, your wife? They stop him in his busyness. And they demand to speak to her and not finish the cake she was supposed to make, but just listen. And they tell her, you will bear a son. Wow, I was just making cake. Where did that come from? Sometimes it's not about what you do, but about being interrupted in all you do and hear that one unexpected word. Hospitality customs are designed so you put your visitors back on the road, fed, watered, relaxed. But this time around, the three men actually stirred up the whole lives that Abraham and Sarah had. They radically changed them. Abraham and Sarah entertained angels without knowing it, and they were turned around by it. Their whole life got a new direction just because they extended hospitality to the three strangers. Your daily routine will only keep you in your daily routine. If you do the same thing over and over again, guests come and feed them. You will do that the very next day and the very next day. But sometime, every now and then, you need to allow time for surprise and change. A whole new perspective on your life. The more radical question is, who's in charge? It was Martha's house that Jesus was supposed to come to. She's in charge. She's the hostess. And she had her little sister living with her. What's little sister supposed to do? She's supposed to help her, right? She's a busy bee, not more, not less. And she didn't function properly. That lazy girl, she sat down instead of getting busy. And Jesus said, your relationship doesn't work properly. That's an unexpected word. Martha, you keep too busy. You distract yourself too much. Mary did her stuff done. Why aren't you done yet? Jesus questions authority and shakes up those patterns. Why do you think you could boss her around like that? You can't. She chose the better part. She knows what should be on the to-do list right now, and that is, let's just sit down and eat and talk. It's all the doing that you do. Is it focused on the relationships that matter? Or is it about doing itself? Does it have a purpose? Are you open to hear an unexpected word? When you plan your day, is there room for interruption? For something unexpected? Do you allow your soul to be bigger than your body? Like your expectations, are they bigger than what your life already is? Are you at times willing to just stop, sit down and listen? Focusing on the coming of Jesus can help set priorities straight. In the very next chapter, Luke lets Jesus tell what the whole thing is about. And do not keep striving for what you are to eat or what you are to drink. And do not keep worrying, for it is the nations of the world that strive for all these things. And your Father knows that you need them. Instead, strive for His kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Amen.